Alright, it's mate Redacted. When I text my friend who's into Southeast Asian games and anime, that sort of thing, asking if he'd played Stellar Blade on PC, he told me that he hadn't played it since it was just a gooning simulator. Stellar Blade is not held back on the attractiveness or jiggliness of the main character Eve, or any female character for that matter actually. They all have a certain inertia to them. When I first saw the game, I actually agreed with my friend that it was probably just some gooner game. I imagined that it would be one of those games which had a lame story, boring gameplay loop, but they'd gone all out on making the main character a fully playable thirst trap. I looked into the game and I was intrigued enough to give it a go, and I was pleasantly surprised to find out that this masterpiece of a game is not just another gooner game. It's not a gooner simulator. Don't get me wrong, this game definitely has the thirst trap mechanics built right into it, right at the heart of it. The amount of mathematics required to make Evie's breast jiggle like this is probably more than the amount needed to get us to the moon in 1969. If you believe in that sort of thing anyway. The drives truly did not hold back. It's there when you're jumping about, it's there when you're in a cutscene, and it's even there in the camera mode when Evie is taking a selfie. They literally got it in every scenario that they possibly could have. It's not just the jiggle physics either. The overwhelming majority of the outfits available in the game called nano suits, and that's certainly what they are pretty nano, don't leave much to the imagination. I got this nano suit for taking pictures of graffiti around one of the hub worlds, and this honestly might be blurred. I'm pretty sure I'm probably going to have to blur this one. Even the more conservative nano suits can prove to be designed to show Evie's. I think the person who modelled all of the female characters probably needs their hard drives checked. Either that or they're some sort of scholar of the female form. Stellar Blade has got all that thirst trap stuff in it, but there's so much more to it than that. It's an in-depth game which has a great story, a really fun gameplay loop, and a very satisfying world to explore. Starting with the thing that gamers look at the most, the game world. The game is set in a post-apocalyptic world where human civilization has been scattered as the result of a massive global war against creatures called Natibas. This means that most of the environments featured in the game are ruins, desolate landscapes, deserted vistas, and I've got to say that the game world has a really rich and detailed feel to it, with the 3D models and scenes being very well done. The environments are stylized to fit the post-apocalyptic theme of the game, with touches of Korean writing, architecture and objects dotted around the place. Many of the environments include details which 90% of the players will just miss as they sprint past at 1,000 miles an hour. Like all the different brands which consistently show up time and time again throughout the game world, giving a sense of continuity. The neon signs for these brands and the other establishments in the game are somehow still lit and displayed prominently, giving the distinct impression that this was a living, breathing place before the final war happened and fucked everything up. It's the tiny details like this that can truly elevate a game world from being good to being great, and Shift Up has absolutely nailed it here. Honestly, chef's kiss with this part of the game, because the world is trashed and yet it still manages to hold interesting and beautiful areas without becoming jarring. The game world or game environment that the game is set in doesn't really have many truly open world sections to it. There's two so far which I've encountered. Most of the game takes place in rather linear fashion. This doesn't mean that Stellar Blade is some sort of Call of Duty style game where the main character may as well be on tracks. You're presented with small and medium sized areas with a clear path through and an option to be able to return to that area in the future of the game. So you can do things like find secrets or complete quests which you didn't quite get done the first time through. The game allows you to explore and actively rewards you for exploring as well. Using the scan feature built into the drone can reveal containers behind walls, ledges to jump on, and even some hidden paths. There's lots of interesting little nooks and crannies to get stuck into here. I don't want to show you too many of these, as you should go out and find them for yourself actually. The game world manages to be fun to move through and an absolute joy to look at, which makes it so much better than like 90% of the other fucking shovelware games that are on Steam these days. The meat and potatoes of any hack and slash game is of course the combat. If it's shite, the rest of the game is like a fart in the wind. It wouldn't be any fun to play if the core gameplay loop was boring. Someone else said it in a review I watched before I bought the game, that if the game was just for thirst trap content and the gameplay loop was crap, most people wouldn't have made it past the first boss. And I tend to agree with that. That's kind of a good metric, I suppose. And to get statistical on your ass, as you can see, almost 83 of the players beat the first boss, with 74% of the players going on to beat the second boss too. The combat in Stellar Blade is really very good. It may not be as tight as Elden Ring, but the fast-paced nature and variety involved keeps it refreshing. There's a smorgasbord of attack and defense patterns for you to learn and to utilise. It's not just light attack, heavy attack, dodge and parry, as with some of the other half-assed and poorly thought out hack and slash games. You've got chain attacks, timed dodges which teleport you, dash attacks, jumping attacks, and so much more. Even me just playing around with the controller earlier on today, I found a new chain attack which I can do. The Natiba enemies are grotesque, and they complement the in-depth fighting mechanics by themselves being varied and plentiful. They all fit a unique niche, from bog standard enemies to enemies which ambush you, or enemies which do charging heavy attacks, smashing Eve to the ground. These varied enemies make it so that the different moves like the jumping attacks aren't just so Eve's skirt momentary lifts up. They exist because every enemy demands a unique approach to defeat them without getting your ass handed to you. Boss fights are also really interesting, with bosses being able to change their moveset on the fly to react to the player. Much to my horror, as one of the few times that I was actually doing well against a boss, they decided to take the gloves off and then proceeded to slap me about like a little bitch. As I said in the beginning at the disclaimer, I'm not going to be spoiling anything in this game, which kind of limits what I can say about the story of the game, I suppose. The story of the game is good. It's not some breathtaking masterpiece, but I don't think anything like that's required to make a good game anyway. If anything, a breathtaking masterpiece would probably take away from a game. You just want it to be a movie rather than a game. As for the storytelling in the game world, a lot of the backstory of the game is told in the form of notes from bodies. Whilst I do understand that this isn't ideal, I will say that most of these notes are quite short, so it's not so cumbersome to read them as it is in other games where the notes that you find around the world are literal paragraphs upon paragraphs. I do wish that perhaps we could get some other characters to summarise them once Eve picks up the notes. Maybe Adam with his drone could be like, oh, that character, he killed his sister and did what to his mother? Something like that. Perhaps responding to the note in a way which hints to the context of the note could be, better storytelling mechanic than actually just hoping that the player just reads them. And then at least people who are allergic to reading notes in games will get a bit of the story. My conclusion is that Stellar Blade is not a gooning simulator or a gooning game as some people have alleged it to be salaciously and vexatiously. A game can have an attractive main character and still have the mechanics needed and the storyline for it to be a really good game. Maybe this is like that old meme which people used to buy nudie mags and swear that they only bought them to read the articles. I swear I only bought Stellar Blade for the story. No, I get her in the outfit which covers her all up, I swear guys. I'm not going to say that because I definitely don't. I'd recommend that you go out and play it if you haven't already. Maybe wait a while because it's £60 fucking on Steam right now, and that's like a day's worth of work, or maybe half a day's worth of work. Back in my day, you used to be able to buy a game for the original Xbox for like £30 or £40, and you got the box and a menu full of all sorts of cool shit. If you like this video, please like and subscribe for more.